Hey, welcome back to Scale Busters. Today is a really special episode. This is what's coming up.
And YouTube has been key for that because suddenly we have this audience that will buy our products and will buy our new services. Pays for itself because what we make from YouTube ads and from the sponsors is more than what we pay to the production team. And it's also our biggest.
Slidebean is a YouTube channel, which if you're not subscribing, you should definitely go over there and give them a sub because their content is very high quality, super informative, and highly entertaining when it comes to the world of startups, entrepreneurship, you name it. Now, the story I'm going to talk to the founder about today is how they've used YouTube, the power of YouTube, which FYI is the second largest search engine in the world, right? Google's #1, YouTube's #2, also owned by Google. They've used this channel to actually grow their actual business, sales, and customers tenfold, and it is now the #1 channel they used, and they direct all their marketing efforts towards YouTube. So I somehow managed to get hold of their founder, Caya, coming in from San Francisco. Caya, how's it going, mate? For our audience's sake, how would you pitch Slidebean?
Slidebean, we started as a presentation platform. Our original idea was just to replace PowerPoint, but that was naive. We learned soon. Not because we don't think our technology is better, but because PowerPoint is part of Office, and that is so well established that I don't think anybody can go out and replace them that easily. Google's trying to do that, but Google is Google. So what we learned pretty fast is that we have to find a niche for ourselves. We have to find a place or a group of users that we could steal out of PowerPoint. And we tried a bunch of audiences and eventually ended up with startups. The thing with startups is that when they're looking to make a pitch deck, they don't know where to start. And we sort of came up with this concept where we create this template, but it's not only the visual part of it, but it's the content itself, right? The first slide in a pitch deck should be this one, and then it's the problem, and then the solution, and then this stuff. And nobody was doing this before that. Everybody was thinking of a template as a visual template, not as a content template to give them that structure. So that's the first niche that we really captured. And then the company evolved into other stuff that we offer for startups. So we've been doubling down on this audience since the get-go, and not since the get-go, since we made that pivot, but doubling down on that audience and finding other needs that they have, extending that to some financial modeling stuff, extended that to helping them out with writing that deck when necessary.
So is that the first time you realized you were actually onto something?
Our first big breakthrough with marketing and sales for the product was Google search, paid search. We found that if we bid on the keyword pitch deck, we would convert greatly, great unit economics, people would retain, like these were our users. And we tried a bunch of keywords. We tried presentation software, PowerPoint alternatives, like all the obvious stuff. But pitch deck apparently converted a lot better. So once we ranked #1 in paid search, which is easy, you just pay more, we figured, well, we want more customers. How can we find them? So we went to Google SEO search. So ranking organically for that keyword, right? Because the ads only get 10% of the traffic. And we did it. We got to second, third position, and we were getting a lot of traffic from that. Most of the historical growth of Slidebean, all the way from 16 to 19, was mostly driven by our SEO. But then in 19, we were capped at the amount of traffic we were bringing. We couldn't get more customers from SEO. We had to find another channel. And then what's the next biggest search engine after Google? It is YouTube. So that's when we started playing around with that. We think of our marketing budget as a 80% direct response. That's stuff that drives traffic and conversions and sales, and 20% brand awareness. That's stuff that we can't measure, that we can't count, but that adds to our brand. And for the longest time, that 20% of budget and time was only a few $100, right? So there's not a lot that we can spend there. At some point, we figured, well, why don't we spend the brand awareness budget in YouTube and see what happens? And we tried a bunch of things. We tried this interview shows that we would do at bars. So it was called Startups and Spirits. Didn't work. We tried a sitcom, like the Office inspired, like the startup office with situations that would happen here. Scripted. The actors were the team, but didn't work out. I don't know. They were like short 2-3 minute episodes. But first breakthrough that we had was when we figured, like, why don't we just replicate the answers we're giving people on Google search? Why don't we just replicate that on YouTube? Our first successful video was a video that was built and optimized around the keyword pitch deck. Then around the keyword convertible notes. And then these common searches that people were already doing on YouTube, we would see what content was out there, figure out that it was crap, and we're like, we can make a better piece of content and therefore beat all the competitors at these keywords. And we did.
Yeah, it just seems like such an underserved, overlooked market. And I love your approach by taking a keyword search approach to rank your videos in the top 10 based on those keywords as underserved keywords. So maybe that's a good exercise, Caya, for anyone who wants to create high quality video content that also ranks highly, is to do a keyword search and find out what people are searching for, see what videos, cross-reference them to videos that are just bad, and make videos about those topics. And there you go. You might actually rank that video quite highly based on SEO.
And one very important variable there was we already knew what the audience was, right? So if we would just do starter content, design content, for example, that's just too broad. Anybody can watch that. So it probably wouldn't have been effective. We've tried some design content today and it hasn't worked. The reason why it works is because it's niche and it's great at answering a question for this specific kind of people. So that, a keyword-driven YouTube approach drove our first 30,000 subscribers or so. And then once we had that, we figured, well, why don't we start making, we've run out of keywords, by the way. All the keywords that we wanted to rank for, we already ranked for. So what else can we do now? And then we started kind of playing around more openly about content, figuring out what stuff these guys wanted to hear, telling our own experiences. That's been useful even in the SEO times where, we're transparent about some of our numbers, some of our finances, some of the struggles we had, and people appreciate that. And it's, I think, one of the reasons why they connect well on YouTube. Again, we tried and failed. We used this small brand awareness budget for years to try to do the YouTube stuff, and nothing worked. Once we found that pitch deck video, we started seeing traffic and conversions coming from that video. So suddenly the money that we would spend on YouTube was no longer coming out of the brand awareness part of the budget, but out of the direct response part of the budget. And that allowed us to kind of scale it a lot faster. YouTube is by far today the biggest source of revenue for the company. But it also, it's not the only reason, but it also has allowed us to sort of convert into what we want Slidebean to be next, right? So I told you we started as a presentation platform, had to pivot into pitch deck specifically because we needed a niche audience. But pitch deck specifically is a small audience. Not everybody needs a pitch deck. It's a small sample size. We don't think that we can build a $100 million company on pitch decks alone, right? So what happens next? Do we find another audience? Well, maybe, yeah, that's a path. But instead of that, what we did is, well, what if we can double down in this audience? What if we can offer these guys other things? And YouTube has been key for that because suddenly we have this audience that will buy our products and will buy our new services because they already trust our brand. I've never been a big believer of the power of brand awareness until now, because now I can see how that works. I can see how we launch a new plan that's more expensive than what we had before, and people will buy it because they already trust the brand. Or we launch this new service, and because we have this audience on YouTube, we come up with a new service idea, whatever. We're doing one right now called Monthly. We just mentioned it on a video. 10,000 people watched it, referred to other people, and there's already some expectation created just because this was quote unquote free for us. We just published it on YouTube. So that's been amazing, and I'm really excited about what we can continue to do with that.
So YouTube is kind of that last frontier of uncharted space in the world of B2B marketing. Yeah,
I think other companies have started to do that, to use YouTube as a channel. We're not the only ones by any means, maybe in the SaaS space. And I think that one of the reasons, there are some variables that not any company can do it. Why? First, it's very expensive. It's the most expensive kind of content, video. Even like I'm a digital animator. I used to animate and edit our first few videos. I did that myself. And then we built a team around me. But I could hire cheaper employees because these are guys that I know out of school, like stuff like that has been helpful. I can lead them. I don't need like a professional producer that comes and leads the channel because we could do that. And you need a face for this, right? Sometimes the CEO they don't enjoy doing that. I happen to enjoy it. And I'm decent at it in front of the camera. And that helps. So there needs to be someone behind the camera that they can connect with. One of our competitors is trying to do that. And it's not the CEO, it's just the guy from the videos. And it's different, right? When you hear the story of, hey man, I'm the CEO, I struggled, I lived on a shitty salary for years. It's different to tell that story from my own personal view. I think that's one of the reasons why YouTube has helped. So, and you have to kind of experiment a lot. So a company will need to spend thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars, before they can find that match between an audience and content. And in our case, we didn't have that much money to spare, but those experiments ended up being very cheap for us because of our team.
So has the channel now actually started to pay for itself?
Yeah, so one funny story with that is that once we had covered like all the obvious startup questions that we could come up with, all the keywords, right? Same as before, we doubled down on a channel until we depleted. And we did that with YouTube. We convertible notes, pitch deck, all that stuff. Our videos already ranked first, and we have multiple videos. If you search YouTube for pitch deck, you'll find like 3 videos in a row that belong to us. So once we ran out of ideas on that, we're like, well, what are we going to do next? We have the audience. We can come up with something. So we came up with this concept of company forensics, which is the stories of originally failed startups, and we started being very niche about like tech startups. Eventually expanded to brands that were well known. So Boosted, for example, has been one of our most successful videos. They were a startup. They went out of business. So we kind of dig into that story. It's like a research piece. I don't write those. I write all the other videos on pitch decks and that stuff. But these we have some ghostwriters that do. And what that worked for is they opened the channel to a broader audience. So we kind of became people that see the video, the Boosted video first. They think I'm a YouTuber, that I'm making videos on this topic. Like I'm just this guy that makes videos. That's not necessarily bad because they're connecting, they're subscribing, and eventually, if they're in the startup space, not all of them are. They care about business enough to watch a video about a failed company, but some of them will go and end up into the other videos, into the pitch deck videos, into the convertible note videos, and then they'll come across our product. So our top of the funnel today, our biggest top of the funnel is those videos, the company forensics videos. But we understand that not everybody watching those videos are our customers. So that opened the channel to a broader audience. Company forensics as a series probably drove the channel from 30 to the 160K-ish subscribers that we have today. Most of the videos that people watch today are the company forensics, but they don't drive revenue directly to us. They're just the first impression that they get of the brand. So the last piece of that puzzle, and this was a little bit of I don't know if it's greed or just me kind of like trying to measure how much we can play this YouTube thing. We started accepting sponsors for these videos. Okay. We're like, well, we understand that not everybody watching the Boosted video is our customer. Some of them are not, and we're fine with that. But then sponsors started approaching us as YouTubers, like, hey, Skillshare wants to sponsor this video for Skillshare. And we're like, well, fine, let's try it out. Let's see what happens. And it's worked well. So now YouTube is a branch of our business. Pays for itself because what we make from YouTube ads and from the sponsors is more than what we pay to the production team. And it's also our biggest source of revenue on sales, which is pretty crazy.
So in terms of the production and the actual process and the video development, the storyline creation, how did you start and where are you with that production process today?
Yeah, I used to use my old mirrorless camera. Then we bought one for the office, the cheapest one we could find that was affordable. We used to have there was this meeting room that we converted into a crappy studio. We didn't have a green screen at first, so we used like a white background that had some stains in it, and it was a mess to remove. Yeah, and then we just started buying really cheap, honestly, really cheap equipment. Like we would go to Amazon and find what's the cheapest green screen we can find. What's the cheapest microphone that has decent reviews? That's how we started. We still use my own mirrorless camera. We haven't bought like a professional video camera yet. Not necessarily. We only tape once a week, so we don't fully need one. The most expensive piece of equipment today is the microphone, which we recently upgraded, which was like $800, and that's like.
What mic was that?
It's a Rode NTG3.
Okay.
But I was torn when I went to buy. I was like, fuck, $800 for a mic. But we've continued to upgrade. We hired a video production guy to do the lighting, so they lit the new studio. And we've been doing all that stuff in a very lean way, if you will. The most recent big boost is that we extended the studio. So that meeting room we owned, I told the rest of the founders, guys, we're going to take this meeting room. It's going to be our studio now. We're not going to let people have meetings here anymore. But also now with COVID, the office is empty. So we're like, guys, can we steal a little bit extra part of the office? And we did. So now we extended the studio for a special video that we're doing on Apple. So we're doing a company forensics on how Apple almost went out of business. And we went all out. Like we've probably spent around 10K on the production of that video.
Oh, I know it's a question that I really want to know the answer to, Caya, and I know many of you watching and listening to this too. What are the YouTube hacks that you've discovered over the years that worked for you? We've all heard that, consistency over time, releasing videos weekly or even daily. If you have a vlog, vlogs are a good hack to get good subscriber growth on YouTube, and also content being king, right? But what's worked for you?
That's funny. I think thumbnails are we underrated them a lot. Thumbnails are really important.
So thumbnails are really important then. Yeah, I mean, if you just go look at your page, actually, check out Slidebean after this video. Hey, if you're enjoying this so far, please do like the video. It really helps us create more high quality content for you. I hope you're getting some value out of this, and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this video. But go ahead and check out Slidebean. Also subscribe and like their videos. But your approach is quite simple, right? You just have sort of you gesturing and a term and a title, right? I kind of feel like half those gesturing pictures of you, Caya, in those videos is just screenshotted from the edit, right?
That's quite literally how we do it.
Yeah.
We figured the color. In the end, we're a presentation platform, right? So we have to. We can't. That's one of the things that have connected with YouTube, which is. Our videos need to look good enough because we're selling that we're good graphic designers, right? So we can't have the thumbnail with the impact font and the border and all the bunch of colors, like the clickbait type of content. No, we need to have like clickbait, yes, because we want people to click it. It needs to be clickable, but it also needs to be beautiful because it's what we sell. We landed on that flat background, which has worked pretty well for click-through rates. And that's something that we hadn't figured out for the longest time. Also, even the video titles. I'm a big fan of a channel called Half as Interesting. Great channel. And what he does is he hints the story a little bit in the thumbnail and the title. So we started doing that a little bit, and that has also worked for conversions. On community, on frequency, we haven't really found a pattern. It's just really, you can talk about these strategies, but in the end, it's content that people want to watch, and a little bit of luck, I would say.
I mean, there's a question I always want to ask YouTubers, successful YouTubers like yourself. Is consistency actually a core element? Because I've heard differing opinions on that one. Yeah,
so we've continued to push that. We used to have one animator. Now we're down to 3 full-time animators for videos. Plus Paula that does the video editing and the shooting. So that's 4 almost full-time team members on the team, plus the people from marketing that handle the comments and the publications and the promotion and all that. So it's really about 5 people working on YouTube full-time, not counting me, which I only do. People will hate me for this, but with the company forensics videos, many times I go into the studio and I haven't even read the script. I'm just reading off a teleprompter.
So how many subs did you actually have in those early days? Because I've heard how it's very difficult to get the first 1,000. Once you have the first 1,000, it's easy to get to 10,000. And then after 10,000, it's pretty exponential. You grow 10,000 if you're consistent and you continue to deliver high quality content. But how many subscribers did you have in the early days?
A couple thousand maybe.
So how did the channel actually grow from that breakthrough video in 2019 to 2020?
In our case, it's been more associated to kind of like finding this right combination of content, right? So the first, these are the breakthroughs that we've had. So first breakthrough was this pitch deck video. After that, we did the keywords, and then it sort of stalled on the number of subscribers. Our next big breakthrough was when we started this company forensics concept. So I wrote the only one I've written is the first one, which was on WeWork. And that was around the time that WeWork was coming crashing down. It was well timed, it was interesting, it was easy to digest and whatnot. So that worked well. WeWork became our most popular video at the time, probably, because we sort of nailed that. And then after that, it stalled again, right? Because we were trying forensics for different companies. We were kind of focusing on tech startups, but they weren't companies that everybody knew about, so that didn't work out very well. So it's about these breakthroughs that really push it. You know, a breakthrough video like Boosted, like Hertz, that one went really well. Recently, the one we did on Spotify is doing really well. These breakthrough videos are the ones that push the channel forward because they're the gateway to a lot of people discovering you and potentially coming and binge watching the other videos. And I think that's what the YouTube algorithm gets fed on.
I know that you do this, and I know that pretty much every YouTuber does this. You know, right now we're roughly just over halfway through the video, and I'm going to now look at all of you and say, hey, if you're liking this video, please like and please subscribe. Because honestly, you'd be amazed at how little and how few people who watch a video actually like and subscribe. Now, I have my own theories about that because people tend to watch YouTube videos coming off other channels, especially in our world of business media content. You know, you're clicking through a YouTube video from LinkedIn, from Facebook. So for the most part, you're not in sort of that YouTube consumption environment where you're used to liking videos. And even I, as a keen YouTube video watcher, you know, I get into my rabbit holes watching all kinds of content. I forget to like and subscribe to channels all the time. But have you found anything that works for you to get people to subscribe to the videos or like the videos at the very least? Please like and subscribe.
Honestly, we haven't checked. Like the marketing team is always pushing me to kind of make more call to actions to subscribe and to like and to comment. I feel I'm on this team that if people want to comment, they'll comment, right? If they want to subscribe, they'll subscribe. Like they know how it works. So I try to kind of be a little bit of a balance between pushing them too hard. I think that you can go with all these tactics, but in the end, if people enjoy the content, they'll watch. One of my favorite channels recently was a channel called Economics Explained. Really great channel. I remember we reached out to them when we were like at 10K, they had like 70K subscribers. Now they're like on 700,000.
Wow.
But man, like they don't, it's like, it's all about the content, right? The guy doesn't do a lot of call to actions to like and subscribe and all of that, maybe towards the end, but it's all about great content. If you put great content in front of people, they're going to want to watch more.
So if you had to do it all again, Caya, what would you do differently?
With YouTube or with Slidebean?
Well, both.
With Slidebean, I think, so I actually have a little bit of that because I did that with my own channel, right? So I had this really old channel that I did when I was in college. I had a couple of videos in there, but then I had this magical advantage, which was, well, I have a budget and a team to make Slidebean videos. We've spent money and failed at all these topics, and I know what works and I know what doesn't. So I've skipped all the learning curve. Now I have the information. I know that you have to start with keywords, so I'm just going to do that for myself. I used to have more free time than I do now, so I haven't done a lot of videos in a while. But the first videos I made on my personal channel were keywords. I found keywords. I mean, this is not Slidebean focused, so I did stuff around tech or around travel, which is the stuff I like. But I always started with a keyword, figured out something that there wasn't a good video talking about this topic, and I would make a better one. And that's how I started my channel. Again, it's a little bit abandoned now because I don't have time, but when people ask me, like, how do you start a YouTube channel? Keyword approach is by far, after you've built a small audience, after you've connected with some people, you found a format, and that takes time. It takes trial and error. After you've done that, you can be free of the keywords and just start building content that you think people will enjoy.
But that's, a very interesting tip and a very sort of like startup founder approach to anything, to building a product or whatever. Don't just build what you want to build. Don't create what you want to create. Don't make a video about something that you think people want to hear a video about or see a video about. Find out what people actually want to watch videos about, right? And I mean, you can do that going back to your example of using a keyword search. You can see what terms people are searching for and then create videos about the things that are most searched for that have the least high quality videos about. There's a bit of a bridge there. So, the channel's hit 200,000 subscribers now. Slidebean is profitable. Hats off to you, clapping over from Oslo here. What's next for Slidebean?
We've sort of, we've seen that we've learned so much through this process, but with Slidebean, our product and our services, the reason why Slidebean as it was, I don't want to say as it is, as it was 6 months ago, was a product that was limited to seed or Series A founders who are looking to make a good quality deck. But they're a small group of, I mean, they're a big group, but they're not, we can build a better company than that. I think we have the skills. So we figured, well, what else do these guys need that's not solved that we can sell to them? Like I went to our investors, we had raised some money and we've become profitable and through this whole process. So we didn't necessarily want to raise more money. We actually bought out some of our investors. Wow. And one thing I told them is like, I think that our secret strength is we found an incredible combination of content. We're profitable, that's great. So we can fund experiments on our own. Two, we found an incredible combination of content that lets us position whatever we launch with a big head start. And we've done it before. For the startup audience, right? If I want to start a social media platform and stuff like that, like we're nobody in that space. But for startups, we're a brand that people are familiar with. And what I told them was like, I think that the path forward to Slidebean is finding other needs that these guys have and solving it for them. So we brainstormed a few ideas. We have a few in the drawer, but the one that we kind of all agreed that there was one we wanted to solve was what this new product that we're doing that's called Monthly. So it's, again, pitch decks are a niche product for a specific group of founders. We have the founder's ear. They're watching our content. They know our brand. Maybe they just don't need Slidebean right now because they're not raising money, so they don't need us. What can we build that they need constantly? And that's when we came up with this concept. So Monthly is a SaaS a SaaS expense tracking. So in a nutshell, you automatically forward your invoices to Monthly, and we will create a SaaS dashboard for you where you can track your expenses. Other platforms solve this. There's G2 Track and there are others, but they're all positioned at companies with 100 employees or more. And that's okay, because if you want to sell to the CFO of those companies, you need a sales team, you need to call them, you need to nurture the leads. But for companies our size, 25 people, 30 people, 50 people, selling is probably, the economics are not great for selling to us because you still need that salesperson, but we don't, because we have their ear because they watch our content.
Correct.
So that's combining kind of a need that we found and the secret strength that we have with the content.
Kai, mate, this has been so valuable, and I hope you're enjoying this because I really am. What's been your biggest entrepreneurial lesson?
The rhetoric, like the standard startup story that you hear about is raise more money, right? Raise money first and then build a product. That's wrong. Like the reality is most of these companies that you read about that are raising money, they already have some traction and they bootstrap their way to that traction. That's what most companies do. So that's a common mistake, but we talk about that a lot. One thing you mentioned with the founders is very true. We incorporated in 14, but we bought the Slidebean domain in 13. So that's 7 years now that I've been working with these guys. We used to live in the same apartment at the very beginning. Our first year, we shared an apartment for like 9 months. And we continue to work together, and it's a little bit of a coincidence, kind of finding co-founders that you can get along with for so long. In the very tough, very extreme situations that a startup has to go through, right? You have to decide, if you want to fire people. You have to have conversations about what your salary should be. There are very hard conversations that you need to have with your co-founders. There are major disagreements that you might have, and you need to find a middle ground. So one advice there is like, don't rush to that. Like I always say that a startup is worse than a marriage because it potentially lasts. The average marriage in the US lasts 8 years, and we're almost at that. And so your co-founders, it's like a marriage situation. You see them every day, you work with them every day. You have to deal with very, very tough conversations. So make sure that you do some dating before you commit, because founders in the end make or break the business.
I mean, I have to agree with you on that one because, as they always say, an A team with a B team idea will always beat a B team with an A team idea. I'll let you figure that one out. I just wanted to go back there, Caya, to a point you made earlier about buying back your investors' shares. Your early investors, you bought back the stock from them. You bought them out of the company. It's not something you hear too often in the entrepreneurial textbook startup journey, right? How did you approach doing that?
Yeah, so I have to give some context into the story, but it's a story I've been meaning to tell for a while. So we raised money on convertible notes. We had a bunch of investors. We raised like small checks. We were early when we raised. And what's a convertible note? A convertible note is a bridge funding from a seed to a Series A, right? And what happened? We didn't reach Series A traction in time. We delayed our convertible notes for an extra period after the original maturity date, and in that process, in that delay, the company became profitable. So it continued to grow, slower, certainly not Series A speed. As part of that process, we pivoted from this presentation platform that everybody would use to this pitch deck platform that only a small subset of users would use. So suddenly we very realistically saw that we were not going to reach Series A fundamental status anytime soon. So I was very frank to our investors and told them, like, guys, we have a profitable business. It's a multi-million-dollar profitable business that continues to grow. Everybody's happy. Everybody's excited about it. But we're not going to raise another round. So what do we do about these convertible notes? Which have the automatic option of converting at the cap or requesting for repayment, and each investor gets to pick what they want to do.
Sure.
So one route that I think the usual entrepreneur would or maybe should take was like pitching a next stage, pitching like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to grow more, but yeah, convert your shares, and we'll eventually raise more money or whatever. But honestly, at the point when we had that conversation, we didn't know. YouTube was going pretty well. We had some ideas. Monthly was kind of like in the books and we talked about it, but we didn't know, we weren't really sure. So I was very honest with them and told them, guys, these are some ideas of what we want Slidebean to become. It's still profitable. We can pay back your notes if you want. If you want to stick with us and you believe in what we're building, we know it's taken longer. We know it's been slower. But if you believe in what we're doing, stay, convert your notes to the cap. And stick around. But if you don't, we'll pay the notes back, and we can afford to do that on a repayment schedule.
Yeah.
So in the end, what happened was some majority of investors chose to stay. Some of them doubled down and bought out the other investors, and the rest of the money we the company bought it out and paid it to them. So what gives me is a cap table and a board that's behind this very honest version of what Slidebean is to become. That's okay with the fact that we took longer than expected. That's I guess it's an untold story, because if you raise money on a convertible note and you don't reach that goal, like what do you do? Nobody talks about it. I mean, the ideal story is you raise your next round. The other story, and I think it's probably very common, is the company just doesn't work. It's not profitable. It liquidates assets, like, but what happens when you're in the middle, right? It's tough. And, having the possibility to buy them back, like, allowed me to sleep at night with a position where I could tell them, hey guys, we appreciate your investment. I have the capacity to at least give you your money back. I'm going to be an entrepreneur probably for the rest of my life. So I would like you to invest in my next company. But
exactly,
if at least it can repay your original investment, we had some interest on it. It was a convertible with some interest.
I've got to ask the topical question right now, Caya, while I have you here. How has your business been affected by COVID?
A big part of the business is based in Costa Rica. The government was very careful early on and like sent us all to lockdown. So we sort of accepted that rule. We sent everybody home on March. And we haven't come back. Like we have an office in New York, part of the team.
How big is your team right now?
We're 26. We didn't have to let anybody go. We had Amazing. April and May were slow-ish months, but 10-20% reduction in revenue. So nothing too critical, profitable. And I mean, those months weren't profitable. We have some money in the bank and we could just go through those. And after that, as the world's been reopening, we've actually seen a spike. So we're, big disclaimer there. And I think everybody on the team is incredibly thankful. I had to, only once in the period of the company, I had to let people go because of a budget. And I hate when I have to do that, because it means that you as a CEO made the wrong decision to hire somebody at the right time when you could not really afford them. Right now it's an external factor, but I think that it gave the team a great boost of motivation just to see that the company went through the crisis, or at least what we've done on the crisis so far, nobody got fired, and we actually added like 3 people in this time.
Caya, thank you so much, mate. Thank you for joining me at LUNICORN on YouTube. Thank you for watching. I hope you got some value out of that. What stood out for me was taking a keyword first approach to making videos. Make sure you make videos that are underserved. Pick topics that there aren't many great videos about, and find out what people are searching for, because I think that's a really great advantage. I'm certainly going to take that tactic going forward. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll put a link down in the comments to Slidebean. Really check them out. There's some great content there. I'm taking a lot of inspiration from Caya and what he's done with that company and their YouTube channel. I hope you do too. I'll see you in the next video.